Hey guys, welcome back to another video ahead of next week's Castle Lager Rugby Championship, and I thought of talking a bit about some of the selection poses for the Springboks. Obviously they wouldn't have been happy with the 20 minutes, the bad 20 minutes against the All Blacks, and if that's the case, you sort of got to ask yourself, well, what do they have a look for now going into this next game? Is it a situation where they're going to play the tried and tested, or are they going to give everybody a go? I think Jacques Nienaber made it quite clear. Not everybody might get a chance, which would be interesting considering where they are for their World Cup plans and the squad. He said the squad wasn't finalised, but this is what he said when I asked him, what is the selection policy going into this game, and how's that going to play out for certain players who haven't had a chance to play yet?
The key thing for us is like I've mentioned. I think obviously they've got a specific game plan and a skill set that Argentina bring to the table. That's different to New Zealand, different to Australia. So firstly, we must pick the right team that can combat that, and that maybe can exploit. Maybe if there is potential weaknesses within the team, we need to select people that can exploit that. So I think that's the first thing when it comes to team selection. But when there's a player that probably haven't had game time and we feel he can provide the same thing, we might give them game time. But it's not to say that obviously the guys that haven't played yet, they will definitely play against Argentina. It's not to say.
Now, some of those players who haven't had a chance to play yet, of course, the likes of Trevor Nyakane, Jesse Creel, there's a couple of others as well, Jaden Hendrickse, Herschel Yankees. There's a couple of those guys who haven't really had a chance, and they're all on the fringes of the team as well. And especially, you see, they hate to have your chance taken away from you if you haven't had a chance to prove yourself. But saying that, the Springboks seem to know where they're going. So I think we probably will see a couple of these guys playing next week. I also see, maybe a start from Manie Lebok, to get a bit more game time as such in the 10 jersey as well, and to try and shore up that. So you should have that, and then it'd be very interesting to see what they do in Argentina, because that's going to be very hostile territory for the Boks when they get there, because they should be then starting to hone in. It'll be the last game before the World Cup team announcement on the 8th of August, and we'll have a much better indication of exactly where they're going to be at that stage. That being said, I think the one thing that Auckland did show is the lack of game time for some of the Japanese-based players really hurt them. And we'll probably see a couple of those. I think we'd probably see somebody like Peter Steff head into the 7 jersey. And you probably see a lot more game time for those guys who they feel need that game time. Saying that, they want to win, they want the momentum. So as Jacques Nienaber said there, the first team they're going to pick is the team that's going to they want to beat Argentina, because they want to give themselves a chance. The Rugby Championship title is probably gone by now, but even if the Rugby Championship title is gone, they still want to have their last game in South Africa end on a high point, and obviously give themselves some momentum, start building that momentum towards the World Cup. I think the squad is probably about 60% settled. There's probably a couple of fringe places, a few spots that they feel might need a little bit of tweaking, probably some players that are close. I think in the situation of Dion Fourie and Marco van Staden, there's an interesting choice as well for the 6 jersey, especially if Sia is still not 100% right. You're going to wonder what you're going to go with. Are you going to stick with Kwagga? Are you going to go with Marco, who had a very impressive showing against Australia? Or Dion Fourie, who's been effervescent in his old age. I say old age, of course, but old Brannas, as he's known to his teammates, is a player who's been in superb form the entire season. That being said, I think we might see another go for somebody like Andre Estes and partnering Jesse Creel in the midfield maybe. I think there's some of the combinations they're probably going to play around with as well, to give guys a chance, a proper chance, going into those final weeks. Nothing is guaranteed, and they all want to play, of course, but I think the Boks will, they've got their plans, and as Jacques said, those plans hadn't changed at all. And this is exactly how he said it. Those plans, even though they lost to the All Blacks, never changed.
It will stay the same for the Argentina test, Ken. Yeah. So our main thing is to manage the load between the players in the games that we have available. Obviously, primary objective is to win the Rugby Championship. I think it's not in our hands now anymore. They must Australia must do us basically a favour, I think. But the main objective was that, and managing the load, trying to get everybody game time and a shot on the field. Yeah, stayed the same. Like I say, the team that we would have selected, irrespective the Argentina game, the team that we will select for the Argentina game is a game that we obviously believe will be good enough to beat Argentina. Just as we thought the team that we selected to beat New Zealand will be good enough to beat New Zealand, as we did with the team that we selected against Australia.
So with that in mind, you got to wonder what those plans were from the beginning. They haven't really informed us, and I don't expect them to inform us, to be very honest. A lot of things they're keeping close to their chest. They're in the World Cup year. They want momentum. They want the team to be at the best, and you can see what they're trying to do is get the best out of every player, even those that have last played in May, like the Japanese players. Still, even at scrum off, you could ask yourself: do you give somebody like Jaden Hendricks, who's been away from the squad for a while, a go to start? He was the number 2 last year, or do you give Herschel Yankees a start to prove himself, or do you go with those two as a combination? Grant Williams was on the bench in both the other previous games. And Kobus Reinach will probably also feel that he should get a shot in as well. It's difficult. There's a lot of posers in these selections as well. I'm sure we'll find out closer to the time next week. But I think what we will see is a Springbok team that is dead set on winning with a couple of tinkering combinations and with a chance of seeing a few players that haven't had a shot yet get their shot to shine for the Springboks. It's going to be a difficult decision on the 8th of August, and I think we know the Bok management know what they're doing, and we have to trust them in their choices. But it's always difficult to get that balance just right. Anyhow, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to keep a lookout on Thursdays. VM Delcom, the Sunday Times rugby writer, and I do a podcast called To The Last Drop, where we discuss rugby and have a glass of wine while doing that. So if you can catch that, it's on all major platforms: Spotify, Amazon, Apple iTunes, and Google Podcasts, as well as Iona.fm, and there'll be a link somewhere on my social pages as well for that. So grab a look for that, and we'll chat to you soon. Thanks.